Nearly pressed the wrong button there.
Oh, you tried to leave us, right?
That was an option.
See ya.
I'm not even in the
Laters.
office to chase you. So as I can't see how many people have joined it. Oh, no, I can. Sorry. I wanted to welcome everyone. We are going to wait just a few more seconds, see if more people join us, as it's showing 8 participants on my end. And we'll get started from that point on.
I think there has just been a mad rush of people behind me all running to a meeting room. So I think there'll be a few others
Look
attending
at
in a minute.
you, Mark. Look at you.
I know.
The numbers are slowly creeping up. So while more people are settling in, getting their lunch and getting ready to have this conversation with us, let me get started and welcome you to the second In Conversation With event series of the year. This webinar is organized and run by the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport and the Next Generation Forum in participation with CIHT. In this series of events, members of the Next Generation Forum have conversations with senior professionals from various facets of our sector. Today, I'll be your host. I'm Stephanie Ezra. I work for Mott MacDonald on a diversity of projects, from scenario planning, workshops with government bodies to low traffic neighborhoods, as well as major rail infrastructure projects. In parallel, I'm the chair to the CILT's Next Generation Forum. If you're unfamiliar with the forum, our aim is to support the career development of people considering establishing or pivoting a career into transport, logistics, and supply chain sector. For example, I'm new to the industry, having recently started my career again after working 10 years as an
progress.
As our forum seeks to help the logistic supply chain and transport with people from all careers and all paths, we're happy to host you today, Anna, and I would like to first introduce my co-panelists, Laura Wilson and Mark Harrison. I'll give you a second to introduce yourself, Laura.
Right, shall I go first? Hello everyone, I'm Leora Wilson and I am an apprentice transport planner at Mott MacDonald. I started my apprenticeship back in September 2021 and coming towards the concluding phases of it now, but absolutely loving every minute of it, getting involved in such a wide array of projects covering so many different technical areas, and I'm delighted to be one of your co-panelists today.
And I am Mark Harrison, Senior Transport Planner also at Mott MacDonald, so we will continue that theme. I have been in the industry for 6-7 years now, in a couple of different consultancy roles. A lot of the work that I do in transport planning is around writing funding applications, business cases for a lot of public transport and active mode schemes. And more recently taken on more strategy work and decarbonisation within transport. I am also a committee or council member for the CIHT National Council, sit on various regional roles within that as well, and was the Young Professional of the Year in 2021.
Great, thank you very much for those introductions. Welcome, Anna. Thank you for joining us. If you could tell us a little bit.
Yeah, no, thank you, Stephanie. So thank you, first of all, thank you for everybody joining us today during your lunch hour. It's really, really great to see young professionals and future leaders engaging in the network to understand what can be improved, what can change. So just really a quick introduction from me. I'm Anna Delvecchio. to carry on the Mott MacDonald theme, I did work for Mott MacDonald up until 4 months ago. However, I'm now a partner at EY in their government and infrastructure practice. So just a couple of things from me. It would be great. The group is small, so it would be great to have your involvement and participation. The team have put a lot of thought into kind of the Menti questions and are really keen to hear your views and thoughts around what might happen there. Second one is, if you've joined as a group, it would be great to hear in the chat how many you've got in your group and how that might work. And lastly, Leora and the team will be sharing the Menti link in the chat. And again, we'd be welcome to hear your thoughts either by raising your hand or, you know, passing comment in the chat box, or indeed when Leora goes to Menti, just hearing your thoughts through Menti. But please, you know, this is not 45 minutes talking about Anna Delvecchio, quite the opposite. It's about understanding, you know, how we attract, we promote, we engage the future generation of transport and logistics professionals into a sector that I've loved for many years. So please, you know, it'd be great to hear your thoughts. So Stephanie, do you want to ask the question and then come back to me?
Sure. So to get us going, I wanted to start with an icebreaker question. Anna, what mode of transport would you be and why?
Do you know what? I'm not sure, because Leora planted this question on me about 2 minutes ago. Probably multimodal for many different reasons, because you get the best of each different mode of transport. So I'd say multimodal, actually. But if I was really picking a mode of transport that I love and I can associate with, it would be walking. And that's active travel for me. So around active participation and travel.
Fantastic. How about you, Laura?
I think for me, it's got to be an e-scooter. I'm always full of energy, passion, and big smiley face, sort of depicting an e-scooter whizzing by. I feel like that is like my object, and hopefully I echo that personality in me.
I think you do. Mark, do you know what mode you'd be?
Yeah, I finally settled. I think I would have to be a train. Nothing particularly ambitious, but I think as an industry, it's well, it is quite ambitious and it has clear objectives and a clear vision for what it wants to achieve, but sometimes runs a little late in the morning. So I think that would be me.
Very good. I'd be bicycle. Easy to pick up, easy to go, quite far on, and it's got a really small carbon footprint, so that's just an added bonus to it. But let's get back into the topic, which is Anna today. Could you take us on a journey of how you got to where you are today and how it was?
Yeah, no, definitely. So it's only going to be literally a couple of questions on me, and then I'm keen to come to the audience to ask your views and thoughts. So what is the journey of Anna Delvecchio, and how have I ended up where I've ended up as being a partner for government and infrastructure, working for one of the big four? So just really, I've worked for the transport sector for over 27 years, and I was literally jotting down notes in my notebook saying, oh my goodness, I'm getting quite old. But if I revolve back to when I first started my career, I got very, very good grades at school. And it was really good to have good grades. So there was a couple of options for me. I could either go to university, look at what was then apprenticeship programs. But for me, I really wanted to go out and work as well as learn. I didn't want to just, you know, go to university. So I picked an apprenticeship program age 16 in electromechanical engineering. And it was a great apprenticeship program, but halfway through I met an individual that inspired me. His name was Richard, and his profession was commercial development, growth, business development, and those. I was like, I must do that apprenticeship program. And I remember speaking to my careers person at the time, and they were like, look, that's really ambitious. If you change your apprenticeship program, you'll have to do a lot of work to play catch up if you want to change your apprenticeship program. I was like, no, I definitely want to change that apprenticeship program. And I changed my apprenticeship program into that type of apprenticeship program. And it's the profession I've stayed and I've enjoyed for 27 years. So I started my career as an apprentice, saw someone that had a role that massively inspired me to make a difference. And it's a chosen profession that I've had for 27 years. So for me, choosing an apprenticeship programme is one of the main highlights of my career. And it always will be, because it was my first role in business. I got to network, I got to meet people. And actually, it was great to join the sector aged 18 and learn from bottom up. I've had many, many roles in both the public sector, the private sector, junior and senior roles. And all of those opportunities have given me just a great breadth of capability and knowledge across the sector. If you'd have asked me 25 years ago, would I see myself working as a partner in EY in government and infrastructure, I probably would have said no, because I wanted to do electromechanical engineering and change switchboards and miniature fuse circuits. So probably not, actually. But transport's taken me on an incredible journey, and I've done so many wonderful things to help the sector, both at company level and sector level, transform. And I feel proud to have worked the sector for many, many years. And hopefully one day I'll leave a legacy that can carry on. So yeah, I think it's been a good journey, definitely.
Great. What is it about the sector that's made you stay in transport?
So there's 4 things. I really thought about that question, actually, and there's kind of 4 things for me that are really important, that I hold dear, actually, having, waking up, loving transport. The first thing is absolutely the people, every level, all different types of people. One of the reasons I stay, you just meet fantastic people doing amazing things in different types of skills and careers across transport. So number 1 is definitely the people. Number 2 is the opportunity to help UK PLC transform transport. And transport and energy go hand in hand. So how can we really help with the decarbonisation, climate strategy, and how do we get that working? The third, for me, is always keep learning. And I feel that transport has offered me the opportunity to always learn something new. And every role I've taken, I'm always learning. And every day should always be a school day for me. And I really like waking up, learning all these great different things, actually, that I didn't know. So that's kind of 3. And the last one is it gives me great work and life balance to do what I do as a day job, but also take time out for myself to do the things that I enjoy, like walking, running, cycling, walking dogs, going to the beach, just having a good time outside work. So, but most of all, I think the people and the opportunities, definitely.
So I really like that answer. I'm going to share my screen so everyone can get access to the Menti. And as you get access to the Menti, first share the screen and let me know when you can see it.
I can see it.
Okay. So you've got a code and a link that's been dropped in the chat. Please feel free to go to that. And I will move on to the next slide with the first question on it. Can everyone see that? I need to press C to open the voting. So feel free to use your Menti, go to menti.com, type in the code and participate with us. Tell us a little bit about what sector you're in, and we'll move on to other questions as we start getting answers. Because we are in a small group, we might get quite similar answers. So I'll quickly move on to the next question. Oh, I have to travel. Okay, so now we do have a diversity of people in the audience. Very good. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next question. I will let Mark take the lead on this.
Yeah, so thank you, Steph. I think the question is very simple. What does next generation mean to you? So you could probably replace the next generation with emerging leaders, young professionals, someone basically that's coming into the industry. What does that terminology mean? Where can you see yourself going?
And you can use
If
the
there are
mentee,
any ideas.
but you can also prepare an answer to come on to join us live if you wish after Anna's answer.
Mine was future talent, Stephanie.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing as well, isn't it? And I think there's a few answers there that include terminology around future. I think that's probably very fair and true to say that we, as the next generation of planners, engineers, whatever our job title is day to day, we are very much the future, and we are going to be involved in driving change within the sector and the industry.
I do like that it's also trusting young people and preparing for the next thing to come.
Yeah. And I think a key thing as well is not associating next generation always with the terminology of young, because you can come into the industry, as you said, Steph, at any point in your career, you can have a career change. And I think it's important not just to associate people with a potentially lower grade attached to them as somebody who's less capable and less experienced, because actually life experience counts for a lot as well.
So am I next generation?
You could be. I guess it's a feeling.
Yeah.
No, just as a quote, I don't have an answer, it's just as a discussion,
Yeah.
really.
Well, technically, you're sort of adventuring into a new industry now, so you
Yeah.
could be next generation for that.
I think as
Inspiring
much as
the
anything,
future.
next generation for me means new ways of thinking, new ways of leading. So yeah, I know if you're coming into your role with new thoughts and new visions, then yeah, I would class that as next generation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think using the word young is probably misleading because quite a lot of people do take second career choices, and it could be next generation in terms of the skill set that they're offering for transport and logistics, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's such a fast changing and fast paced industry that we are constantly changing and evolving. So arguably we're all involved in being that next generation.
Great. No, very good. Would anyone want to venture onto their mic and express more of what they've put into the mentee?
Do you want me to? So I had put, am I next generation, just to prompt a discussion that next generation is not necessarily about age, actually. It's bigger than that. And that's just my opinion, actually, rather than just fact. And I also think next generation is also a means to be much more inclusive in its widest sense in the sector. And I think looking at, you know, some of the lessons learned and best practice to apply of how we can take things forward from the next generation of logistics and transport professionals.
Totally. And that resonates with what Molly Holger from the UK has said in the chat. There's more association with sustainability and net zero in next generation. And would you, Anna, agree with that comment?
Absolutely.
I think also, oh, sorry, you go
200%.
first.
So 200%, I totally agree, actually.
Fantastic. Let's move on to the next question. What do you believe are the biggest opportunities across our sector? And again, take to your mentees, give us your thoughts, but feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute yourself and share them with us. And Laura will be leading.
I guess for me, coming in as an apprentice and just being able to get involved in the industry at such a young age has been really important to me, and really getting to see what life is really like and what are the real problems that lie on people's doorsteps, and getting this opportunity to be part of it all. I know a lot of you on the call today are apprentices just like me, and I know how much we will value these sorts of experiences. So definitely big opportunities lying ahead. Lots of answers coming in: connectivity, electric vehicles, decarbonisation, social mobility. Well, that's a good one. Net zero.
I like the to change status quo. Whoever's put that one in, I think that's quite powerful, personally.
It goes really well with social mobility as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of what's coming up is maybe a shift in thinking as well. I think traditionally transport and logistics has maybe been focused on well, highway use and getting people and goods from A to B, which is still obviously the case, but there's maybe a bit more emphasis on how we do that and why we do that now, aside from economic benefit.
One of my favourite phrases has just come up: behaviour change. That's one of my favourite things to do at work. We have such a great opportunity now as we're shifting into, I guess, a new way of doing things. How can we bring everyone along with us? And as this could be a real new opportunity to change mindsets for the better as we move down our decarbonisation pathway.
Only.
Yep.
Anna, how do you feel about these answers coming up on Maya?
So yeah, so there's a lot around decarbonisation, climate, which I think, and I had actually put transport and energy nexus, but missed the last word, actually wouldn't let me put it in. So I think actually it's really, they are great opportunities, but there's also things about culture, value and behaviours. It's not what you do, it's also how you do it, which is really important, and change for the better. So, and being able to, I don't know who wrote to change status quo, but I totally agree. In order to kind of change status quo, it's about what you do, but also how you do it, picking up behaviour change, culture and those type of things. So yeah, there's a lot in there around transport working across other sectors, because so transport can't decarbonise on its own, right? It needs the energy sector. So a lot around collaboration and how we might work with other sectors in those particular areas. So yeah, really good stuff coming through there.
For those that are unsure, like me, what does to change status quo actually mean?
For me, it would be change the way things are done today, the way they have been done for the past 50, 60 years. It's kind of bring an upheaval to the sector. I'm not sure if Mark or Anna, you have a different interpretation of.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go on, Mark.
No, you go, Anna. Go on.
Are you sure? So Leora, the best description of that is the worst thing that you can say in business is this is the way that we've always done it, and this is the way that it's always worked. So looking at around, smarter, more efficient, more innovation type ways to try and really champion that change. So, yeah. Mark, go on, sorry.
I was going to say, actually, to change status quo kind of encompasses everything else that's on the screen. I think previously we've focused too much on economic benefits from transport, but actually you've got social mobility, connectivity, the ability to influence climate change through behaviour change, and get people thinking about what it is that they are traveling for and how they're going to do it. I think that to me is what changing the status quo is moving away from our traditional means and methods.
That point reminds me of something I just learned at college, all about how we think about the economic things too much. We just had an assignment all about business cases, and we were learning about cost benefit analysis. And I found it really interesting that everything has to be monetized.
Yep.
If you couldn't monetize it, it wouldn't be considered. But what about all of the other things that we need to take into account that can't be monetized? So really interesting.
You've hit the nail on the head. Very good. Would anyone from the audience like to unmute themselves and share their thoughts with us? No pressure. If you don't want to, we can move on to the next question.
I think if we move on for now.
Yeah.
So what constraints do you face today, and whether it's your job or your specific particular niche in the industry?
That's a big question. See what comes in.
Politics was at the very top of my mind. I'm very happy to see it come in the first group. Budget, funding, our obsession with voting, I'm guessing? No. If you've been cut off, you can use the chat to add the rest of your thought.
I like the obsession with values of time.
Oh, VOT. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Including social benefit. Yes, very much.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued how job title has come in.
That was me.
Oh.
So something that I've experienced, and when I've been involved in sessions like this previously, a constraint that a lot of people who are coming into the industry face is around their job title and being able to get their voice heard. So I mean, speaking from my experience as a graduate coming in, and I know other people that have come in as apprentices, that actually having graduate, apprentice or junior in your title makes it very difficult to get your voice heard around a table if you're in front of a client or even people within your own company. So I think that's maybe a responsibility on us all to try and give everyone equal opportunity as well.
Ollie, let me read off one of the messages in the chat. So Catriona Stamper says, upskilling apace with change in the industry and new project work to remain competitive while still producing a high standard of work on time and to budget, obviously. So it sounds like the constraints are not really preventing us from being innovative and thinking outside the box, but they're maybe limiting the pace at which we can bring change to our industry. And there's a question directed to you, Anna. Could you provide any tips and advice on overcoming the comment from Catriona that I mentioned above?
Let me just go and have a look at the question, because I was looking at the Menti. I was looking at how many times politics is coming up, and finance and training and upskilling. I was looking at the categories actually coming up. Let me just have a look. Just have a look at the question. Just one sec. One sec. Is it about upskilling? Am I reading the right question?
Yeah.
So it depends. So I guess I'm just trying to think of the answer actually, rather than tips. So it depends what we're upskilling and why we're upskilling. You know, is it for a particular project? Is it around, you know, a new way of working? Is upskilling based on your company rather than sector? So I'll try and just give you some tips on each of those, because I'm not quite sure which one. So upskilling. So if you look at upskilling, upskilling can be done on either technical or behavior type competencies. I found upskilling, so I'll give you just an example rather than a tip based on my own personal experience, if that's all right. So I went from traditionally working in the sector to working for one of the big four, and I had to upskill on things that I didn't actually know, whether that be tax, insurance, just a whole suite of different things. And I found it quite tough, and I found it quite hard, as I'm sure as I get older, my learning ability gets less. But actually, I found the upskilling quite hard to be able to retain it, as well as balance starting a new role. So the upskilling for me was challenging for a number of reasons, because it was stuff that I had never heard of or was not familiar with. And I felt quite in a zone where I was quite nervous and not confident, because it was stuff I just had absolutely no idea about. So in terms of the company one, which I'll get to, upskilling on company, you know, try and make time for training and upskilling based on you know, the training that McDonald gives you, or whatever organisation you work for that they give you, because actually it's time well invested. In investing, always make time to invest in yourself, actually, however busy you are. And there's always an engagement or a contract that is keeping you busy, but just carve out a bit of time for me to be able to just understand what you need in terms of upskilling for the company that you work in. So that's kind of number one, at a company level. Number two, at a sector level, the sector has lived in quite unprecedented times. It's had COVID, it's had, you know, changes of government, it's got, you know, there's a real need for decarbonisation, climate change and upskilling. So I think if I was looking at transport and logistics, what I think the sector would benefit from a sector level is upskilling in terms of digital, as well as literacy on carbon and climate. You know, how do you assess carbon? You know, what are the impacts that it makes? And there's organisations like CIHT or CILT that do offer training, because I went in and looked at the portal, and I actually did two myself on carbon the other day. So again, at a sector level, you know, there's a lot of things available, whether they're particularly advertised very well, who knows? But go and have a look at the portals on upskilling for technical behaviours and competencies. Again, it really is I would work with institutions who spend a lot of time looking at culture, behaviours, and how they can really drive the next generation to think and work differently. I don't know if that answers the question, but it depends what you need to upskill and why, and the best route to go and do it. And if the person could give me the example of what it was, I can definitely try and answer that question a bit more detail.
I'm happy to, if you want me to jump in there.
Yeah,
it was basically based on a conversation I
Mark.
was having this morning. Hi. With myself and Mark, we're on an electric vehicle project, and there's a couple of us that have been involved in them previously in the last year with a team based in Scotland, because the work's been based up in Scotland, and there's not many of us yet in the division that are really experienced on these types of projects. And we were just kind of discussing that it's a constraint in almost having enough resources, but enough people who have experience and know what they're doing and the processes. And I know there's a lot of lessons learned from the last couple of projects, and it's a big thing that we need to upskill a lot more people to be able to do this kind of work, but it's new to the industry, therefore it's new to all of us. And it's just hard to take on a project and do it to such a high standard as everything else that we are able to produce, to all the usual deadlines and cost sort of limits, whilst kind of still learning at the same time. It's like learning on the job while still trying to produce good results with kind of a very limited amount of people that know what to do and how to do it. who are all super busy with other things as well. And yeah, I just sort of saw it as a constraint in that respect. I don't know if that's kind of cleared it up.
Yeah,
at all.
no, that massively helps me. That gives me a bit of context. So at a company level, it's definitely, I'm never scared to ask for help or to ask stupid questions at whatever level. So, you know, if you feel that there's gaps or you need support, I'm sure in your organisation, if you go and ask for help, they'll try and give you the support and help that you need. At a sector level, so there are things that are in their infancy, like EV and those type of things, but there is honestly, I was really taken back by the training offered by CIHT or CILT. I think it might be CIHT, because I wanted to upskill myself on EV and climate and just understand it's the literacy associated with that, just making sure as a subject matter expert that you understand it in a bit. I would honestly say at a sector level, there are a few things that are available. There was one available from the DFT as a toolkit, which I'll have to check whether it's still available. And the second thing is CIHT do a number of these different training portals, and they really are worthwhile to go in. And I'm not saying that they're particularly subject matter experts, but they get you to a level where you're a bit more confident on understanding what you might need. But if in doubt, and I wasn't sure, I'd always go and ask for help, because there is always subject matter experts in organisations that sometimes you don't know that are not that you just don't know that are there. Basically, that's my advice. Does that help you a little bit?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And I think you're right. Like, the more people that gain experience, the more people therefore can help other people. It's just that typical thing of a new project, a new piece of work. Yeah. So that was helpful. Thank you.
Because someone said to me last week, how do I measure carbon? I'm like, I don't know. I've done it before. You know, that's really basic stuff. But actually, there's many tools. But please feel free to reach out to me, Mark, or anybody, and I can see what I can do to help you. Just upskill you in things that are readily available for you to use.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that also kind of answers the question or the comment around the short-term costs and versus long-term benefits. And actually, it doesn't always need direct training, but actually often a conversation with somebody who knows what they're on about can actually go quite a long way, and you can learn a lot just through learning the lingo, as it was, and just getting a sort of grasp for what it is in terms of the constraints and challenges that we're facing within the industry.
You'll be surprised that you know as much as other people. It's just other people won't admit that they don't know as much as they think that they do. Honestly, it's amazing. So I would get the information that you need from your company, and where there's gaps, reach into the sector, because I'm sure you'll find it.
That links into a question that Harry posted, which is with regards to the job titles, because it could really be that you feel constrained by the fact that your title is either apprentice or associate, or just the very beginner level of our industry. And I was wondering, because Anna, you came through the apprentice network, did you come across moments where it was really hard for you to get your ideas and your new perspective out there and heard?
So when I did an apprenticeship program, so is that Harry that I know from Mott MacDonald?
I'm not sure. Harry, are you?
Yeah. No. So the simple answer is yes and no. So yes, I have, when I was younger, encountered challenges around making ideas. Yes, it is. So I'm not going to say it isn't. Wasn't a blocker, because when I was going through the trajectory, I did feel on occasion that because I wasn't so senior, that some of my ideas were not taken seriously. However, now what did I do to overcome that? So there are always doors open, and there are always people that will support you. Work with the doors that are open to you, and the other doors will open over time. That I can promise you.
Yeah, and I think as well on that, obviously, Anna, you come into the industry as an apprentice. I've come what would be more a traditional route through a graduate program. I don't think there's any right or wrong way to enter the industry either. And I think there are valued ideas and comments to be made from any grade, from anybody in any position within any company. And I think we all have the responsibility for making sure that everyone is considered as equal to some degree.
I think it also ties quite well in with the point about confidence. I think that's a hugely important thing to me. Sometimes you've got to be brave, go and put yourself out there, talk to someone that you haven't spoken to before. What's the worst that could happen? They're busy in a meeting, say, oh, well, maybe we could try another time, and just try and speak to as many people as you can. Like, I'm told lots of people's story already. When I first started at Mott MacDonald, I set myself the challenge of saying hello to someone new every day. And I still try to keep that up today, and it's been really important to me to help expand my network. And Kat, I also saw your comment about being confident, I guess, in what you do as well. That's something I've sometimes found difficult, just thinking you're at the bottom. How do I know I'm doing a good job with all of these important people? I think my top tip for that is I keep this folder with me all the time. It's called the Always Doing a Good Job folder, and it's full of things that remind me that I'm doing a good job. So when I've had letters from clients to say this project was delivered brilliantly, or when I've spoken at events like these, won awards, got little snippets of all of that in this folder. So if there's ever a moment where I'm doubting myself, I can go and look in that and I'll be like, yeah, I'm doing a good job.
Absolutely.
Can I just summarize, Stephanie? So I don't think age or title should be a barrier. If you genuinely believe that something that you're working on is the right way to do it, then absolutely go and just go and make sure that your proposal or your whatever it is heard. So I'll give you one example. So when I was 21, I had this really great idea, and literally I was getting a limited amount of traction in the organization. I just couldn't break free. So do you know what? I'm just going to go and leave it on the chief exec's desk. What's the worst that can possibly happen? It's going to be quite career limiting, or maybe not. And I did that, and he read it, and 2 days later he phoned me up and says, right, how much funding do you need? Get on with it. So it's back to confidence, like Leora said.
Yeah.
Go and say hello to people. Age and titles should not be a barrier. A good idea and the best ideas can come from apprentices. You don't have to be working in the sector a long time to have the best idea.
I remember the first time I met our chief executive, I went to his office, knocked on the door and was like, hi, hello, and it worked.
It's very easy. It's a lot easier to do that when you're in person in the same office as the people that can make those decisions. Just relating back to my experience, I'm new to the sector, but I've got 10 years behind me of working for myself. I've never had to ask anyone for permission to get something done. And coming into a company such as the one that I'm working in today, it's really interesting, and it feels limiting to not be able to just get on with what you want to do. With regards to, for example, business development opportunities, you sometimes don't really know whose virtual door you can knock on in order to get a cross-national project going, even if it's a small scale. And I wonder if that's something you've come across, Anna, and you were able to overcome.
So you'll always find individuals in organisations that will help you, right? And those are the people that you should go to for whether it's business development, ideas, proposals, because what's really important is building your network both internally and externally, and having a level of advocacy for the type of things that you're doing. So so I guess for me, Stephanie, there's kind of many ways that you can kind of look at it. I think there's governance in place to safeguard yourself and the company in conflicts of interest, making the wrong decisions, and they're there to protect the employee as well as the organisation. So obviously you've got the governance of the organisations, but I'm sure if you've got a good idea or you've got a development opportunity, go and speak to the key contacts in Mott MacDonald or whatever organisation that you work for, you know, and explain why you think it's a good reason or why you think that you need development. And I'm sure that they will see the positive of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think
there'll always be. I'll be really fair. There always will be paperwork and some level of politics that needs to happen. You know, that's never going to go away unless you work for yourself. But in an organisation, you know, in large organisations, people like yourself and people like Mark and people like Leora's and many others will shine because it will give you the platform to be the best that you can be. Just find the network and the individuals that can help you do what you want to do best.
Yeah.
Virtually, it will be there as well. Virtually, they will be there for you.
It's important as well not to assume people won't help. I think when I first came into the industry, it was daunting seeing someone's job title and the number of letters after someone's name. And you see that and think, oh God, they're so unapproachable. But actually, everybody is approachable. I think, Leora, your story of knocking on the chief exec's door just goes to show, or Anna leaving a proposal on a desk, it goes to show that everyone's human. And there's a level of confidence that has to initiate the start of that thought process of going and knocking on a door or thinking, oh, I'll just leave this on the desk. But actually, if you can get past that initial barrier of building up the confidence, something that I've begun to learn about myself actually is if you can just get past that, you can go quite a long way. And everybody is human. Everybody likes a conversation away from work as well. So talk away from work, you can go quite a long way.
So Stephanie, in summary, if you've got great ideas for development, try and find a route in to the key people just to talk them through your ideas, your approach, what you want to do, how you can make stuff happen. You won't find a person that won't listen to what you're trying to do. Both virtually and face to face. That I'm positive of.
I think you'll be sending a couple of calendar invites to some chosen people this afternoon.
Be brave, be confident. What's the worst thing they can do is say no, but they won't. I guarantee you.
Perfect. I wanted to
maybe that should be a takeaway task. Everyone should all go and after this go and say hello to someone that you're really interested in, maybe a bit nervous, but go give it a go. Just drop them a message, say, hi, I'm really interested in what you do. Could we have a catch up sometime? And that's how I've started talking to all the people that I get to know at work.
Very true. That is a very good way, whether it's in the office or outside the office at a networking event or on platform of a train station, as Laura was telling us this morning. We can meet very interesting people. I wanted to open up the session to a Q&A portion. So if you want to open up your mics, be as brave as Catriona and turn on your camera.
Trying to bring us all to full screen if we can remove mental.
Yeah.
And these questions can be covering anything that we've spoken about today or anything that we haven't covered with regards to the wonderful world that we live in.
There's quite a few questions that we answered, I think.
Yeah.
As we went along. If anybody's got any other final questions for me before I leave, I'm more than happy to answer them now.
I had a question for you. With regards to decarbonization, how in the past, I want to say 24 months, it's really taken off. People are realizing that things have to get done, and it has to be done very quickly. In your new role, how are you coming across the policy changes and the political or funding limitations that we're going to be facing as an industry?
So that's a really big question to end as well. So thank you for that. So we're living in a world where decarbonisation and climate is really important, and the climate's pretty challenging, as you can see. We've got really, you know, adverse weather conditions, you know, embankments, you know, collapsing on the railway line. And these are not by chance, these are related to climate change and what we need to do. But decarbonisation is an opportunity to work and think differently and make sure that actually people live longer, it links communities, clean air. So in my role, I was very fortunate a couple of weeks ago to meet the Secretary of State for Transport, and it was quite good. And it was one of the questions that I posed to him, you know, what does he see as the biggest challenges around decarbonisation? What can we all do to support and help him? So I guess there were a couple of takeaways from me. One is, do we really, as a sector, do we really understand how we monitor, measure and assess what we're doing around decarbonisation? So electrification for rail, for road, you've got different activities. But when you get to kind of the LTAs and those type of things, is there a level of baseline, back to the previous person's question, you know, is there a baseline level of understanding around what is decarbonisation, what are the key components and how does it work? And are we all making a consistent and the right decisions around what we do? And I feel that there is a bit of a gap there, actually, in my opinion, from what I've seen. You know, do people really understand the impact and the assessment that they're making around decarbonisation and climate and carbon? So that's just my view, and I don't feel comfortable that I know a certain amount, but I don't feel confident as a subject matter expert to do that. So I would say, Stephanie, just a couple of things from me. I think this is going to get bigger. It's not going to go away. I think the need for transport to work in partnership with energy has never been more crucial. And actually, we've got to work out, you know, what that means to each key stakeholder across logistics as well as the transport mode. What does it mean for roads? What does it mean for rail? What does it mean for aviation? What does it mean for maritime? And I'm sure there are subsectors in there that are much harder to decarbonise than other sectors. So how do we do that in terms of a roadmap? And back to the previous point, how do we upskill the individuals to deliver those projects? So it's quite a big one, actually, I think we need to work on. So thank you for that question. That is not an easy question, but you can't go anywhere anymore without talking about transport, without energy. And you've got to talk, they go hand in hand now, in my opinion.
True, very, very true. And it has to be done very quickly and efficiently. There's a couple more questions that have popped up in the chat as we have a few more minutes. One of them I find really good is, what is your career highlight you've had so far, Anna?
I've had a couple, actually. So being an apprentice is number one. I loved coming to work. I'm going to sound like Leora now. I loved coming to work. I loved being part of business. I loved going to college. I loved building that network. So my career highlight is, one, being an apprentice. Two, mentoring and training young professionals to be the best that they can do. And I take absolute pride when I see their careers go from strength to strength. And, you know, the coaching and the development, and having played a teeny weeny little part in their development to see them flourish is kind of another highlight for me. And the third highlight is being asked to co-lead the United Kingdom rail sector deal 4 years ago, to work on behalf of UK PLC in the sector. And it was quite scary when they phoned to say, look, you've got to do this for the whole sector, and you'll be negotiating with number 10. It's like, my goodness, I'm having a confidence crisis in terms of, am I able to do this? So successfully securing that is one of my career highlights. And just working in many, and the last one, sorry, working in many organisations across transport and logistics, and having so many colleagues, friends and acquaintances that I keep in touch with on a weekly, daily basis, and building a network that is really quite powerful for when you need help and support.
Fantastic. which you've partially answered the question that Harry posted, which is, why are you passionate about inspiring the next generation? Very much like him and Leora.
Because I was an apprentice and I know some of the barriers that I faced, and I feel that if I can help 50, 100, 200 apprenticeships be the next MDs, be the next chief executives, I stand proud to have helped them marginally in their career be the best they can be.
Great, very inspiring, even if we haven't been apprentices. Thank you very much for your time, for this conversation. If there's any last questions, this is your time. Otherwise, I think we might get 5 minutes back in our lives to go and finish our lunch, maybe, or reflect back on.
Recover your voice, I would say.
Recover my voice, yeah, or reflect back on everything that Anna's just told us, which I found really, really enriching. So thank you very much for your time, Anna.
No, thank you. And thank you everybody for joining, and thank you for the Menti comments. They're really, really helpful with CILT, CIHT, try and understand, what the future generation needs and wants are. So, I'm sure it's the start of many great things from Mark and Stephanie to get involved and participate in other things. But you know where I am. If you need to get hold of me, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, or if you want any help, just call me. Leora knows that, Harry knows that. Just call me if you need any help. I'm always there. And I don't just say that. If you need help, just call me or point me on LinkedIn. I'll do my best to try and help you. Thank you.
Very energetic, Laura. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.
Take care, everybody. Have a good afternoon. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye. Bye.
Sana.
Bye. Take care. Bye.